Yeah, so you're from Corpus Christi. Growing up there, how did it feel? Being here in San Antonio, a lot of Spurs fans growing up when, I was growing up here. But for you, being from Corpus, just talk about the community and how much they love Selena there.
Yeah, of course. I remember when I was very young. It's funny enough. I had a boombox when CDs were still popular, and we had them boomboxes. Me and my friends would play Selena. We would be at the sidewalk dancing. Cars would go by and honk. It's so weird thinking about it now, but it was really cool still. And there was a lot of events. They did it at the statue out there near the ocean. They had events as well. Also, where her home was out there in Corpus Christi. So there was a lot of events. Weirdly enough, I didn't go to most of them. It was more of, I guess, because of my grandma Rosemary, she had time. She was a school teacher for 30 years. So she would take me to these events and everything. And the one thing she always regretted is the 2005 concert that they had here in San Antonio for Selena. That's the only concert I wasn't able to attend, unfortunately. But in Corpus, it was still very much popular. Even recently, with Fiesta de la Flor. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
still
right.
pretty amazing.
Talk again about how your collection started.
Of course.
How old you were at the time when you first got that first collector item up until now.
Absolutely. So I brought it with me, actually. The Dreaming of You album was the very first one. I remember after I watched the movie, I was asking my grandma Rosemary, like, questions about Selena, who she was, the music. And it was weird because I grew up with country music. And so my grandma was like, what is this with Selena now? And she really encouraged it, though. She told me stories about how she would watch TV and flipping through the channels, and Selena was on there, and she would take a moment and watch it. Because my family was from Mexico. And so, my grandma's husband was a Longoria. And so, it was big, growing up with speaking Spanish. That's why it's kind of funny I didn't catch on. But my grandpa loved it as well. He thought it was amazing that I was getting into a Tejano artist. But it was the first album was Dreaming of You. We went to Circuit City that I don't think's around anymore, so years ago. But it started with the Dreaming of You album, and to this very day, I just went to the museum not too long ago and bought a jacket and their tumbler cups. So it's even to this day, I'm still collecting. But funny enough, my collection wasn't big. Everyone thinks I had all this stuff, all these cool items, but it wasn't like that. It wasn't until I decided to do something with it, like a world record, is when I started getting so much more to be able to attempt it.
And your items, they're specifically collector memorabilia items, right? So talk
Yes.
about the world record and what you attempted and then were able to achieve, but that title there, because it is different. It's specifically when it comes to memorabilia.
Right, absolutely. I remember I was thinking about what can I do to honor Selena in my own way. Growing up, she's kind of what kept me in school. My grandma was a school teacher as well, but I didn't have another role model to look up to. And it was Selena, really about education and staying in school. And so it kept me in college and everything. And I wanted to say thank you. I personally wanted to say thank you in my own way. And I was thinking, what can I do? What can I do? And I realized someone had a Pokemon collection with Guinness World Records. And I was like, let me look into that. And so I looked into it, and no one had a Selena World Record. And I was like, well, there's Michael Jackson, there's Elvis. And I was like, why not Selena? And so that's when I decided I wanted to do a Guinness World Record for Selena memorabilia. It was a lengthy process. And when I say lengthy, it took 10 years before I actually attempted it. So it was truly a long process. This started back in 2014. That's actually when I opened up my Instagram page. I was like, I need to document everything, keep tabs of it all, connect with other fans. And then I started to do it. Originally, I was supposed to do the attempt back in 2023. Unfortunately, there was some issues with family and health. But in 2024, it happened. Super stressful, but it was an amazing experience, though.
Yeah, that's huge. Let's go back a little bit. You bring up your grandma a lot, and
Absolutely.
she is what influenced you to become a collector, right? Talk
Yes.
about her collection that she had herself and that you saw grow as well.
Absolutely. So she loved Elvis. So I remember when I was super, super young, she had a few Elvis items. And I kept asking her, you don't have more? Do you have other things? And she told me that actually there was a theft in the family. Someone broke into our family home and stole all of her Elvis memorabilia. And for some reason that triggered me a little bit, but it also lit a spark. And that's what started the gifting of Elvis items. And I remember I watched it grow. She had a lot of artwork made for Elvis. She had his albums on the wall. But that lit a flame in me to do Selena. But my grandma Patsy, she loved Elvis. Even to this day, she still had a lot of Elvis items. And then I recently found out she actually got to see him in concert. I was talking to my mom about it, and I was like, hey, did grandma ever get to see him? And she was like, she did before he passed. And I was like, what? She never got to go to Graceland, but I just found out Priscilla Presley is coming to Texas. And so I do plan to go meet her and get an autograph for my grandma.
Oh my God, and tell her everything.
And tell her everything, how it expired a Guinness World Record and all that. So
yeah.
I thank my family so much because I don't think I would be here without their support.
Yeah, and that's what I love about your story is that, of course, it's honoring Selena,
right.
But your family was the inspiration behind it, not
Absolutely.
only your grandmother, but your father, your other grandma, and just everybody really supporting you on this dream of building your collection. Talk about your family and what they did over the years, whether they gifted you items or helped you find items. Talk about the ways that they helped you.
Absolutely. I remember my dad, he bought me the Barbie doll, and he was like, this is weird buying my son a Barbie doll, and it was like, I need to buy him something else. So I got a Barbie doll and a dirt bike. It was the weirdest thing he tried to do. But I think that's what I love so much about my family. My grandma got a lot of the perfumes for me and the statues, because I wasn't old enough to work. I was still a little kid when all that stuff was coming out. So if it really wasn't for them, I don't know if I would have as much as I do today. But my dad would buy a few of those. I know the one thing I love so much, and it's my favorite item out of everything, is a portrait of Selena in her Grammy dress. I couldn't bring it today because it's super huge and it would be the only thing in the car. But, my dad did that. My grandma Rosemary, even after I moved away from Corpus, I remember when I would come back, she'd be like, oh, I found this in a pawn shop. I got it for you. I don't know if we have it yet, but, I still got it. And it became a collection for the family. My aunt Linda, she does it too. She'll see a Selena magazine on the shelf, at H-E-B or something. She'd pick it up, buy it. My mom, I have these vintage shirts. There's a black one and a white one. It's Selena y Los Dinos, and it was back when she was doing the Coca-Cola partnership. And my mom, was like, hey, I stumbled across these. I found these, and she was like, I want to give them to you. And so it was really a family hobby, I guess you could say. They encouraged it so much that I don't know if I would really have my collection that I do if it wasn't without them.
Now, when you started collecting specifically to get the world record and attempt it, where were you getting some of these items? Because, back then when you were growing up, they were readily available, right? You could go to the store, walk in and grab as many items as possible. They still have the boutique, but some of these items that you have are from many years ago. Right. So talk about how you're tracking down some of these prized items for your collection.
Absolutely. eBay is my best friend. A lot of things did come from eBay. I kid you not, even, what's that word? Flea markets. We had a flea market in Corpus Christi, and me and my grandma Rosemary would go there together, and that was what we were looking for, was Selena CDs maybe that we couldn't find anymore, or items and everything. But eBay, other Selena fans as well. Ever since I started my Instagram page, I was able to connect with a lot of Selena fans around the world. And I came into a few of them that had Selena boutique items, because when I, started going to the boutiques, the boutique items weren't there anymore. It was more memorabilia shirts, posters, and everything. And so my mom was like, wait, I think I have some. And so she started looking through her stuff, and other fans, would sell me their boutique items. And then it just kind of came a more of a hobby with other people. And I want to say one of my favorite memories that I think back about when I think about the collection and how massive of a world we are living in is I've recently found out that the Philippines love Selena. Never knew. Yeah, you never knew that. You wouldn't think about that. They love Dreaming of You, I Can Fall in Love. I remember I would do not TikTok, but Instagram lives. And people would be like, oh, hi from Brazil. And I'm like, what? It's amazing, knowing how far and wide that connection really is. Now I have friends in Australia who I introduced to the series that never got to, didn't know about it. And it's beautiful.
That's what I love about your collection and your platform here, because on Instagram, and Facebook as well, you see all of these fans from all over the world connecting. You're bringing them together. It's really a beautiful thing to see. And you're posting all of your items. It's making people happy. It's making people remember those certain times, those years of what was going on. Talk about that, how many fans you have, what your Instagram is called, and what you appreciate the most from having that platform.
Absolutely. So I actually call all my followers, I just call them followers. I never call them my fans because they're not. They're there for Selena, and they're for that memorabilia. And I see them as, distant friends that I may not know their last names or what they do, but it's kind of, speechless almost to say it, where you don't have the words to say what it means. I get stories all the time from people, even at the attempt when I did the Guinness World Record, the stories people would share. I would hear so many things about Selena when they would go to her concerts. A lot of people met her, even young fans to this day. I actually just chatted with someone who they were like, oh, my mom and grandma, they were the big ones. And they were like, thank you for making me not feel like the only person in the world. And it's one of those things where it's a blessing, because some people do have items I don't have. And it's beautiful seeing other collectors' collections. And that's why I really wanted to start my Instagram page. Yes, to keep track of everything. But growing up, there wasn't, internet was still kind of coming out, but there wasn't a thing where you could go and look up Selena items. Let me see what was produced, who has what. That wasn't really a thing. And so I decided I wanted my Instagram to kind of be a checklist almost for people where they can go and look, be like, let me see what other items exist. And like the statues and perfumes, a lot of those things, people really didn't know about.
What draws you to Selena? I know she's the Tejano queen, but is it her music, her lyrics, or was it just the way she was out in the public, within the community, very lovable, friendly? What was the reason that you were really drawn to her and still are today?
I think it would be who she was. I want to, I never got to meet her, unfortunately. But the interviews, even the one where she did for kids at school, education, staying off the streets, don't doing drugs and things like that. She cared about her fans, and she really cared about the community. Not a lot of artists do that today anymore. And so for me, her music, her Grammy dress, of course, is my favorite outfit out of all time. But her outfits, her fashion, it was just all there. And that's why I think it was, for me, it still kind of makes me speechless as well for that, because even to this day, I don't know Spanish. I sing it a little bit and things like that, but I always go back to a quote that Suzette had said at Fiesta de la Flor is, we're all here because of one person. And I still truly believe that today, that you may not know her, Spanish, you may only know her English songs or her Spanish songs, but you feel that connection through her music. And I want to say that that's exactly what it is for me. The music, kind of kept me going, and I'm still here today, jamming out to her songs.
Beautiful. Do you remember times in school growing up that her music inspired you to try harder, do more, do certain things, like giving you that power that maybe you otherwise wouldn't have?
Yeah, I actually did a lot of my school projects on Selena. They would talk about, I remember I went to Flower Bluff Middle School, and one of the projects was to write about someone who inspired you. And I wrote about Selena, and I had other friends, that didn't really know who she was. Maybe they didn't listen to Tejano music and things like that. And I would, show them her music. They became fans to the point where they even wrote, their stuff about Selena as well. And I actually have one of their reports still. I don't have mine, but I have a friend of mine, her report that she had wrote for Selena, and I still have it in my collection to this day. But I think it wasn't until I went to Ray High School where I started meeting kids around my age who were in the community, because Flower Bluff and Ray are opposite sides of each other. But a lot of the kids as well love Selena there too, and the teachers. We would talk about Selena. They would play her movie in Spanish class. It was pretty cool.
When you think about your collection, what are some of the pieces that you cherish the most, or maybe are the most iconic, that when you post, people are like, wow, you have that?
Ooh, so of course the Dreaming of You album, because that's what started it all. And the other one would be the portrait, because my dad gave it to me, and you can also see it at the Selena Auditorium and as well at the museum. And the Hi Ho restaurant as well, because it's an amazing restaurant there too. But it goes back to the sentimental value for them. You know, there's a lot of items that aren't really too unique that I'm like, they're special to me because of my family. You know, even to this day, you know, like you have the Selena the Series box right here, another one of my favorite items, as well as the boutique clothing. So it's so hard to put, you know, my favorite items there. But if I had to pick one, always gonna go back to that portrait. That portrait is just one of my all-time favorites.
What about, you know, the number of items in your collection? Talk about how many items you have, and then what you needed to start the process for the Guinness World Record.
That was so stressful. So before I started the record, and that kind of became a dream of mine, I probably had around 100, 200 items. It wasn't anything crazy. I had the statues, the perfumes, some posters. Then I decided I wanted to do a world record. And I was looking around, and that's how Guinness World Record came about. And I was like, okay, no one has it, let's do it. So I went ahead and I submitted all the paperwork that they needed. And then when they came back to me with everything I needed to provide, and that's when I realized I don't have it. That's when I was like, wait a minute, you know, I literally thought it was gonna be impossible. But like Selena says, the impossible is always possible, and it's very true. I started collecting a lot of things left and right. It's funny because I have the Selena makeup launch. I don't wear makeup, never once put it on, but I still collected it because every piece counted. And now the Guinness World Record official count is 1,308 items, but I was so afraid of items getting damaged that I bought duplicates of some things. So because of duplicates, it makes it more, probably around 3,000 to 5,000 in there. There's tons and tons of bins, there's tons of t-shirts. It's so hard to count it all, but it's pretty amazing though to see how my collection shifted from collecting things that I liked to the point where it was like collecting things to earn a Guinness World Record.
And to be clear, you don't have all these items in your house.
Oh, absolutely not.
That would be a lie.
Yeah, everyone asks me that. They're like, where do you store it? You know, and everyone assumes my home's filled with Selena stuff from top to bottom, you know, front to back. And really, it's just her vinyl records. Everything else that I have is all in storage here in San Antonio. The only things, you know, if anyone ever visits my home, it's the first thing they see is my vinyl record wall. They're all Selena's record there from when she was 7 years old all the way to the new one that they just released. But I also have other ones like Reba McEntire, Dolly Parton, you know, so Selena's not the only one on my wall, but absolutely she's, you know, she's not everywhere there, just the vinyl records.
We spoke when you were trying to attempt to get the world record. You were mentioning it was hard, you know, obviously all the way around from collecting the items, but once you had them and you were ready, even finding a location was difficult because, you know, you had to have a place that would open their doors to you, be able to fit your items, and then possibly have enough space for people if they wanted to come and see the whole thing as well. So talk about where you ended up, where this attempt happened, and how it went.
Absolutely. It actually was really stressful for the venue. The venue was one of the other setbacks I had. I wanted to do it in Corpus. That was where my heart was. I was like, I want to do this in Corpus. You know, this is what I want to happen. A few of the venues I reached out to, they were like, well, we want to charge an admission. And I'm like, absolutely not, because that's actually part of the rules is it has to be free to the public. And so I looked for more venues, and Corpus just wasn't working. And I was like, okay, San Antonio. I was like, let's do it where, you know, where I'm living. And same thing, everyone wanted to charge something. I reached out to a few museums, and they're like, well, we can't just have this be a free event. And I'm like, it has to be. And then that's when I decided I want to reach out to the Lake Jackson Historical Museum because I knew they were a nonprofit organization. So I reached out to them and I was like, hey, you know, is this something y'all would do? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. And I said, well, the catch is it has to be free to the public. And they're like, perfect, we can do it. And I was like, what? And so I went down there, I met with them. They were incredible. They were super helpful during the event. They even had volunteers that would come out there and they helped watch the collection because my nerves were through the roof, having everyone being able to people literally picked up stuff from my collection. That's how close people were to it. They would go in there, they would pick them up, the CDs, the boutiques. it was a little stressful. I had to step away a few times because I was like, no, don't touch them, because fear of something going missing. But everyone truly respected my collection. There was nothing like that. There was, I want to say 600 people came out, so it was a lot more than I was anticipating. I thought 20. I was like 20, 30 people, nothing crazy, but 600 ended up coming out. We also had more, because we were trying to keep tally when they were coming in. So there's probably a little bit more. And then I also did an Instagram live where we had, I want to say about 100 to 200 as well join. So there's quite a few people that wanted to show up for it. But the one thing the public doesn't know is that I actually ended up in the emergency room right before the attempt because of how stressful this was. It was something I did with my family. So it was sharing stories and memories, with these strangers that I may not know that were so close to me, because of my family, that the stress that I had, the anxiety, I ended up getting really sick where I had to go to the ER just because it was so much. But I was okay. Still ended up doing the attempt, but it really was stressful, but beautiful. I heard stories from fans at the event that they even brought pictures to show me of Selena with them. They talked about how much they meant to her and how kind, and they would, she would do signatures for them and take photos, and the memories they had, it was so precious to me because I didn't have those. And so I cannot thank them enough for sharing them. There were people who stayed the entire event just to chat with me and everything. It was really amazing.
So, okay, so you did the attempt, and then you actually, there was a waiting period. You were not sure if you were going to make it. I mean, all you wanted to do was do the attempt and
Right.
try your hardest, right? You
Absolutely.
never thought, okay, I'm actually going to get this title. So how long did that process take of you waiting, submitting paperwork and all of that until you actually found out the news?
Yeah, so I actually thought that was going to be the easy part. For me, the attempt was hard. Finding the venue, setting it up, having everyone come out, doing the counting, and the paperwork was a super long process. So I thought after the attempt, submitting all the evidence would be easy. The attempt was on June 28th of 2024, and I want to say it was mid-July when I finally finished doing all of it. So part of it is you have to have a recording of you doing the entire count. Then you have to upload the recording, which is not an easy task when you have the event lasting 2 hours. So you have 2 hours of videos that you have to upload. And then you have to have super detailed to when you count the item, like item number 1, and the video is at 0.05 seconds. You have to know to the second the item is in the video. And so it's really strict. Everyone thinks it was super easy, and it was not. And so after I submitted everything in July, it was a waiting period. I was like, I'm not gonna get it. I kept having, doubts. I was like, no, I just wanted to do the attempt. It's fine. I don't need to submit anything. Because there's a lot of technical difficulties on my part, of course, because I was like, this isn't loading, and I'm stressing. But once everything was done and I could breathe and I submitted it, I submitted in July, and I didn't get an update until November 1st. So it took quite a lengthy time. And during there, I remember telling, my family and friends, I was like, I'm not going to get it. And they're like, keep hope. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I'll accept defeat. I was like, I really just wanted to do the attempt. It was just a way to say thank you to Selena, but my family as well, just for everything, because they weren't able to be there.
Exactly. When you found out in November,
Yes.
Did you get a call? Did you get an email?
Oh.
And how did you feel?
It was an email. So funny enough, my anniversary is October 31st. So right after that, the very next day, November 1st, I remember waking up, checking my emails, and I saw something from Guinness World Records. And I was like, okay, it's gonna be, the unfortunately, we regret to inform you. I was preparing myself for it. And then I saw it said, congratulations. And I was like, wait, hold on. I sat up and I'm reading it and I'm rereading it. I go and I check and I'm like, I don't believe this. But yeah, I got an email, 9 o'clock in the morning, I think it was. And I screenshotted that email too to keep it as a memory. I really couldn't believe it. I did not think I was gonna get it, and I did.
What does it mean to you?
So much. even to I had someone who reached out and they're like, I can't believe, there's a fan that holds a Guinness World Record for the largest Selena collection. And they're like, how did you, everyone ask. And it's bittersweet, I would have to say, honestly, just because my family was, the driving force behind it. And they weren't able to see my dream become a reality. They weren't able to be there for the attempt. Everyone thinks, I had this huge support behind me, and I did, with all my followers and everything, and my friends that came out to support me. But I had no family there. It was just me. So that's why it was super, super hard. I remember I had to actually step off the floor because I had a few breakdowns, because I'm sharing something that my family gave to me. So it was really hard.
Yeah, speaking on that, they're no longer here with you, but this is part of what made you want to go out there
Absolutely.
And try this. And so really, when you're looking at that title now and that plaque that you received, I'm sure that brings so many memories to you. And it's not personally for you. I know that it's for your family and for Selena and for the Selena followers.
Absolutely. It's one of those things where it just seems so unreal. It's like when you get this special Selena item you may be searching for and you can't believe you have it. It's kind of what the Guinness World Record is. I wake up now and I see it on my wall every single day, and I'm just like, I still to this day cannot believe it. So, holding it and everything. I took it to my mom to see it, and I made sure to get, I had another award ordered for her so she can have it. But it's just one of those things where it's so hard to process those emotions just because of how much it meant to my family.
I know that they're looking down, they're seeing all that you've accomplished, they're proud of you. What do you want to tell them?
Just thank you. Thank you for believing in me and not giving up and still helping me get those items that I wanted so much. I cannot say thank you to them enough.
Yeah. If your grandma was here and your father, if he was here, what would you want them to know?
That I tried. That I really did it, because it wasn't a dream with them. My dad passed away when I was 13, so my dad really wasn't around to see what I wanted to do. My grandma Rosemary was, and my grandma Patsy was, but they weren't able to see it happen, thankfully. My grandma Patsy is the one who knew about it, so she was around for me to tell her, like, hey, I'm gonna do this. Unfortunately. So my grandma Patsy was around when I decided I wanted to do it. Even whenever I had to postpone it, she knew about that. So I'm thankful that at least, one of my family members that inspired everything, I'm so thankful that I was at least able to tell them, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna try to make it happen. So I'm just want them to know that, hey, I did it, and I still have the items you gave me, and, they'll always be in my collection. As long as I'm collecting, they're always gonna be there.
Yeah, and I love that they can hear your story. They're here with you, surrounded by love, and you can also feel that through the followers that
Absolutely.
Are watching.
I kid you not, one thing before I forget that my grandma Rosemary did is the Stripes Cup, the very first Stripe Cups, everyone was going crazy for them. They were selling them for like crazy amounts on eBay. I remember my grandma asked me, hey, is there any followers, trying to get them? And I said, yeah, like in Arizona and other states. And my grandma went out of her way to purchase as many as she could to resell them at retail price. So she was, charging people 99 cents for these cups, I think it was, or $1, just because it wasn't fair. So even my grandma was so part of, trying to help not just me collect Selena items, but so many other people. She even tried to do what she could to help people in different states get those cups.
I love that. And lastly, anything else that you want to tell people that are watching and have seen you grow and make this attempt of reality an achievement?
I just want to say thank you for being a part of the journey. really thank you so much for all my followers. Even to this day, there's people that are following me, and it's just, I just can't thank their support enough, because I did post it. I was very public about everything I was doing, the obstacles, and a lot of people would reach out to me, tell me they have my support, I have their support, they're here for me. Even people that are like, do you need any advice? Is there any obstacles you can't get over? But I just can't thank everyone who was, cheering me on, who has been there since my Instagram started. Like my good friends Gigi and Nancy, they've been part of it. And Nancy was even one of the ones who came down from Houston to Lake Jackson just to help me with part of the event. So to know that I have lifelong friends now, all because of my collection, means so much to me. So I just can't thank everyone enough.
Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. I want to
Thank
give you
you.
a hug. Thank you for sharing such a beautiful story.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.